Hi, everyone. I'm Allison. This is my friend Fiona.
Hello.
She's a Baker student. I'm a college and career counselor, and we are going to dive in today in our next kind of segment of this series on prepping for college applications, and we're going to be talking about writing the best essays that you can write for those applications. So, Fiona and I are going to chat about it, and I encourage you to kind of think along, participate along as she and I go through everything we've got for you today. So, there we go. There it is.
Beautiful college application essays PowerPoint.
Yes. Get ready to be educated. But before I share with you kind of what comes to my mind when I think of writing a standout college essay, what have you already heard about entrance essays and what they're all about?
That I've heard they're all different, but I don't know how you would write one essay if they're all different.
Yes.
So that's my question, actually. I have more questions than that, but my big question is, like, are they all different? Do they vary slightly? Are they all, like, do they take all of just the one essay you put in?
Yeah.
Can you do, like, multimedia things?
Ooh, these are all great questions.
Yeah, like, I heard you could do that in, like, some kind of college book that I read, but I don't really know if that's a thing.
Yes. Let's start with is there one essay or a gajillion?
Yeah.
Okay. So each college is going to have its own essays, and its own prompts that they're going to want from you. Some of those are going to be very similar from college to college, and some of them are going to be the same. If a college, multiple colleges are using the Common Application as their resource, sometimes with the Common App, you can answer those essays that are just kind of standard across the board, and you'll see that multiple colleges want those same essays. And within each school, within each application, they might have a couple more that they'll want just on their own, uniquely. So there's some overlap. So yeah, you do not have to reinvent the wheel every time you go to write another essay. There's going to be similar elements from each question that you
so it might come
use.
Down to changing like a paragraph or changing like a theme slightly, or
changing a theme slightly. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is really the idea of storytelling in your admissions essays rather than what you think of like a standard essay being. And that can be a little harder to tweak. But really thinking about the kinds of stories that you want to tell about yourself in your essays, and then how can you use those stories to address each prompt. You can get creative with it. You also asked about multimedia. Depends on the school and what they want. It's never a bad idea to, if there's a school you really want to get into and there is something you really want to share about yourself that they didn't get at in a question, in an essay question, or in any part of their application, you can send in whatever you want to. And so if there's something you really want to create, a video, some sort of physical piece of work, right? Like, you can send it in. So hopefully the essays let you say everything you want to say.
Hopefully.
And hopefully you can use whatever writing skills and resources you have to make that happen. Is there anything else you've heard about entrance essays? Like any kind of things that...
Personally, I've heard a lot, like, the only other thing I've heard is that, oh, you'll be able to write a good one. That's personal. That doesn't apply to, like, but that feels kind of, like, assumptive for people to say. Like, they're like, you're good at writing, so you'll be able to write a good essay. I'm like, but I don't write, like, try to write myself personally. I always write about, like, different, like, things going on outside of me, you know?
Yes. So I think that is a really fantastic point. Like, college essays are their own genre.
Yeah, totally.
Right, of writing. And so I would say for really skilled writers, this might be a challenge. For people who don't normally like writing, this might be a home run.
Yeah.
So It really depends. So like just keep an open mind to what this experience will be, because it will be different than other writing you've done.
I just know whenever we have like a self-introductory thing in a writing class or like a speech class where you have to go up and introduce yourself, I'm always like, who am I? Like, what am I doing here? Like, I know in any other situation except for when I'm asked to tell someone like what I'm doing with my life and what I want and who I am. And then I'm like, I don't know, man. I know loosely, but not today.
Right. And what do I want to say about myself?
Yeah, like what's good, what's bad, what matters, what doesn't.
It can feel like a lot of pressure.
Hopefully the prompts will help a little bit.
Yes, they give you some direction for sure. And within those prompts, there's still a lot of wiggle room to make it what you want it to be. And so I would say, I think that's a common misconception, that there's like one right way to do an essay.
That's never true with writing, though. I feel like there's one right way to do it. There might be one right way for one teacher, but it depends on, you don't know who you're writing to really in this scenario. So
exactly.
Just an admissions person.
Who are you? Yeah. Who are you writing to?
Yeah.
It could be a professor. It could be an admissions counselor. It could be a student panel. Like different colleges do it differently and have different people read those essays. And so, yeah, trying to like have in your mind one person you're writing for.
Yeah.
It's for you.
Yeah.
It's really, it is. You want to say about yourself. So let's get into some of the really important things that I have learned in working with students and colleges that I think are kind of the essentials. So, right, we've already started talking about this. What the heck do you write about?
Yeah.
This kid down here is stoked to write about anything.
He really is.
So, we've talked about this already. You're writing about yourself. Whether that's comfortable or uncomfortable, that's the name of this game. And so it's not about writing about, what you've already written in your application, right? You're not rewriting the things that you have done, the grades you've gotten, the classes you've taken.
So I don't have to take notes. Can you send this to me like afterwards?
Yes.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Like secretly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so secretly. We'll send it to all of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Everyone watching. My viewers out there. You're great.
So you're writing about yourself in a way that the other elements of your application have not already spoken to. What is still unsaid? So much.
Yeah.
You all are made up of so much more than just the grades that you've gotten and the extracurricular activities you've done, right? Like you're human beings with depth and perspective and ideas, and they want to hear stuff like that. They want to hear about the learning experiences you've had. What kind of learner are you? What would you bring to their classrooms? And to their schools as that learner? What are your values as a human being? Like, what do you value in life? What do you value in your educational experiences? What do you value in community? Right? Like, they want to know what you're interested in. These are things that your application and all the other elements aren't going to get at. So this is your time to really share not just who you are on paper, but who you are as a person. And who you are as a person is going to be unique. And those are the things to really think about is, what can I write about that somebody else won't? Yeah.
That's like the hard part for me, because I feel like, not like I'm generic, but like, I tend to write about kind of things that other people write about. Like when I'm doing essays for class, it's like, I have trouble coming up with something super, super unique to write about, and that's a super personal experience. This would be perfect, but also it's like, how do I make the personal experience super personal or super unique without going into like a whole thing? You know, that whole thing.
Right.
I feel like I can make stuff really unique by being like super like individual with it, but that isn't always what people, I mean, that's, I guess, what you want here, but it isn't always what is going to be the most compelling.
Yeah. Well,
like no sob story, you know what I'm saying? I'm like trying to avoid sob stories.
I love that you're talking about this though, because a lot of times when people try and think about like, what's that unique, cool thing I could share about myself, that ends up being the least unique thing you could share. Like, they don't want to hear about like the the volunteer work you did when you really thought you were helping others, they were helping you.
Yeah. That's like, yeah.
Right? Like they don't want to hear the same stuff over and over again. And it's those really kind of subtle things about yourself that maybe don't feel like this is what makes me really unique, but maybe it's a relationship you have with a grandparent, or an interest that you have that is slightly different than,
or it means something different to you than does other people.
Yes. So much more about the meaning than what the thing actually is.
Yeah.
And that's what you get to write about. So that point is not meant to be this pressure thing, like you have to write about something no one's ever written about, but writing it in a way that's that no one else is writing about is what you want to shoot for. You want to write about what you know and what's important to you. So you're not having to like be somebody else, channel the version of yourself you wish you were. They don't care about that. They don't know who you are. So what do you know and what is important to you? That's what they want to hear. So it's not about trying to like come up with some cool thing that you've done. It's just
everyone's done cool stuff.
Right. It's the meaning behind it. And how does that, let's bring it back to what kind of learner you are.
Yeah.
What do you value in life? What are your interests? Those things. And so that comes down to don't just tell us about this cool experience you had. So what? What does it mean for you?
So like ask yourself, so what, when you're writing it, like all over and over again.
Over and over again. Like, why does this thing that I'm writing about even matter?
I'm so tired of hearing that. Not like because of anything specific, but because I heard that a lot in like entry-level writing classes in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
But then now that I'm actually writing like stuff that I'm interested in, because I'm having more leeway in like college writing classes, because I'm big early college.
Yeah.
I'm like using that more and more. I'm like, oh yeah, I've written this awesome paper, and the professor's like saying something kind of unclear, and I'm like, oh, you have a so what? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like,
like,
oh, yeah, you didn't hear that in high school because you didn't take any of the high school education like CEUs the teachers had to take. So to you, hearing that is awesome. To me, hearing that is just repeating everything I've ever been told, but it's super helpful anyway. And then I was like, oh, the light bulb goes on. It's super helpful.
Yes.
Like just ask yourself that, like, so what? And then you get to like the deeper and like meaning of things.
And I'm hearing you say, when you're able to write about what you want, the so what comes a lot easier.
Yes, definitely.
Than writing about like the themes in Charles Dickens novels.
Yeah, it's like flashbacks.
Exactly. So when it comes to topics, like what matters? Sometimes in people's desire to like make it flashy, it can get inappropriate.
Yeah.
And so whether that's like trying to be funny if you're not, or sharing too intimate of an experience that you've had just to catch their attention.
Yeah.
Again, it's like keep it appropriate and keep it connected to that so what. If you are going to share something really intimate about yourself, what makes that appropriate to share? Beyond just the attention grab.
Yeah, like, hey,
yeah, look at this essay. Yeah. Making it specific. What was that?
I don't know. I feel like it's hard to get specific when you're talking about like yourself as a person. I feel like I would need to see a prompt to really make it specific.
Yeah, and we're gonna look at one.
Okay, good.
A little later to kind of get our brains going on how do you apply some of these things. Yeah, but making it specific, and I'm going to go back to that idea of storytelling. Is there a story that you can tell that brings across a so what?
Yeah,
that answers that prompt. Because if so, that story and making that story as specific as possible is going to really hone in for the reader and for you on a moment that has made you who you are.
Yeah.
And why it's that significant. So making it specific, addressing the prompt, and we're going to look at one for sure, but it's this balance, right, between writing what you want to write about and what's important to you, but also what are they really asking in that question? What do they really want to know? There, in the Common app a few years ago, they had this essay question that was, if you could pick anybody, fictional, non-fictional, living, dead, as your college roommate, who would it be? And, what are they really trying to ask in that question?
Now I'm thinking about that question.
Do you have an answer that comes immediately to mind?
Do you know the musical Hamilton?
Yes.
I'm not that into it, but I got really into like listening to Lin-Manuel Miranda's like interviews and stuff because he seems like a really cool creative person. So that was my immediate response. I was like, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I feel like he'd make me more creative. Then I was like, he's totally up all night, like doing things at 2 a.m., singing a lot. And I was like, maybe I don't want that. And then now I can't think of anyone else. So maybe it's like the immediate reaction is the best one. But also I'm like, I don't want to be hanging out with some guy who's totally, like, probably totally manic. Like, in a good way, in a very high functioning way, but like also like, I'm not like that. I need my sleep. So I feel like he'd be really on all the time.
Yes.
And then maybe crash, which happens to me sometimes. So I'm like, maybe that's not the best idea. Maybe I'm overanalyzing too much. That actually is a good response, but
Well, let me ask that question again. What do you think they're trying to know about you through a question like that?
What kind of people you're interested in? Like, if I feel like that's kind of the question where it'd be like, you can go into it in more detail, but if I wasn't taking it at face value and do like a really short answer, what they would get from that is like what kind of people you hang around with and want to hang around with and have goals that it's like connect to. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'd be like, oh, they're like, they want to be like really, like if they took that answer and like Googled him, we're like, oh, he writes plays, so she's creative and likes to write maybe. She likes people who are like kind of fun and high functioning, but also a little bit like, not crazy, but a little bit like woohoo, like lots of going on.
Individuality.
Creative individuality. Maybe she likes musicals, I don't know, but like that would like give you something like, would you want to, maybe they'd say like, oh, well, she wouldn't have been in here because this is MIT or something. This is not people who like come here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So perfect, Fiona. Yeah. They're trying to get at, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you value? Yeah. And they can get at that by knowing who you want to hang around with. Mm-hmm. What kind of people you want to surround yourself. And are those the people that their school is
looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just making sure, that when you answer a question like that, you're keeping that in your mind. Mm-hmm. And you're not just writing about like,
I would hang out with Kim Kardashian because sorry, that's mean, but you know what I'm saying? Where it's like,
because
I feel like she could buy me like things. And it's like, no, don't write it. Like that might be what you want, but like maybe go into depth about like why you want. Yes. I don't know. Like, even if that's your answer, maybe.
And address that, not just who you would want to be your roommate, but why, mm-hmm. right? And not just say like, this person's really cool. Don't write about that person.
Yeah.
More than you're writing about yourself
mm-hmm.
in that essay, right? Like address the prompt, but keep it about you, and make it specific. Don't write about 3 different college roommates you think would be cool. Pick one and really hone in on that, right? And write again, there's that point again, write about what they want to know. Just trying to like read between the lines of what is this question really trying to get at and how can I share that piece of me with them.
I was talking to it wasn't a class. It was in my middle school class. Mm-hmm. We were going to take a standardized test. We had to write an essay.
Okay.
And it was all the questions were going to be like different among like, a couple students. Like they were going to be like pretty different questions. And there was like 5 different questions you were going to get. So he couldn't like focus on the one that we were going to get. He didn't know which one we were going to get. So we just said, the teacher just said, I want you to think not only about your answer, but also about what the test is looking for. Like, think about who's going to read that. Like, think about your audience constantly when you're writing something, which was annoying at first because I was like, but I shouldn't care about what the audience wants. I should care about what's true to me, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like knowing how to like please but also how to like address people in a certain way, depending on who you're talking to,
right,
is really important. And that helps me in tests, and even now, like years later, where I'm like, what answer are they looking for? And how do I make that true for me? And how do I make that true also in the test? Like, how do I make those things connect,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take what I'm hearing from you and bounce this idea off of you.
Yeah.
First draft, write it for you.
Yeah.
Second draft, go back and make sure it's for them.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I don't really do drafts when I write. I just like blur, and then I go back and like trim things out, which is kind of a draft. But mostly it's like, so drafts is kind of a poor analogy used on me specifically. But
I get what you're saying. Just not in this formal, I've written a draft.
Yeah.
Now let me set it aside.
I couldn't do that in like high school.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about some drafts. But
I guess it is a draft, but
it is. It's just your own way of doing it. Yeah. Everyone has their own writing process.
Yeah.
So when it comes to length, I know this sounds like duh, but it's not all the time. People are tempted to either show that they're like, look at how much I can do and write and say. And so they'll go over.
I find it's often more challenging to keep something concise than it is to just like fill the word count. Like I would always go over word counts in writing. Like I have a lot of teachers in college now who don't do word counts.
Mm-hmm.
They do like maybe pages, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like the page is so vague, kind of they fill it all the way to the end, or like keep it like one word on the page.
Yes.
And that's so many pages or whatever. So I don't really hear a lot of word count stuff anymore.
You're gonna hear a lot of word count stuff.
I bet, yeah. But I'm saying like it's a lot of times more difficult to keep it concise than it is to keep it like lengthy. I mean, for me at least, because I feel like you can put a lot of stuff in an essay.
You could, for sure.
And make it really long.
Yep.
But cutting it down is hard.
Cutting it down is hard. And so don't go over, even if you're tempted, like, wait, but I need to fit this one more sentence in. Because they're going to see that and think what?
That you couldn't go back and edit it.
You couldn't edit.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Like,
you didn't read the rule. You didn't read the objective.
Or you disregarded it and you're not listening.
Yes. So keep it at that word limit. But also, don't go too far under it.
Yeah.
Like, if you feel like I've said everything I need to say, there's more you could say.
There's always more you could say.
Even if you only have 50 more words, 25 more words you could use them. What else could you tell them about you?
Yeah.
At the same time, don't pull whatever this pea company pulled.
Very young, small, early peas.
Don't just use words to use them.
They could have gone bigger, though. They could have gone more words. Very excellent, small, minuscule, young, youthful, early, not too late peas.
Early, not too late peas.
Yes.
They could have.
Even worse.
It would. So use your words wisely, but also don't.
Who has a word count on a can of peas? It has to be 5 words. If you go under 5 words, we fire you.
I don't understand what very young peas really means. I don't know if that makes it sound more appetizing. Is it like the opposite of having like a nice aged
I feel like
cheddar?
Young and early kind of go together almost.
Exactly.
It could have been like small early peas, and that would have been good enough, but they wanted to say they're very young and small.
And they're small.
And they're also early. Yeah, they're early. But young and early are slightly different here.
Yeah. I maybe that's what you want in a good pea. I don't really eat peas. So
they're a starch, not a vegetable. I learned that recently.
Oh.
Yeah, so if you're thinking you're eating vegetables, you're eating peas. No, they're starch.
Maybe they're not even worth it. Don't tell your mom.
They're good.
You said that. And then avoid repeating yourself to fill space. So just like these people did. Don't
Sorry,
feel don't feel like you have to use all the words. If you're 10 words below the word count, don't just go in and use 10 empty words.
Yeah.
So find that balance. Some pitfalls. So I mentioned this, like, please do not repeat the activities already listed in your application in an essay. If you've already listed all your volunteer work and you have an essay question asking you about like how you contribute to your community,
you'd be like, well, I volunteered here. I know you know that because it says it before.
Do not just list all those same things that you've done. They can see that. They know. Pick a specific experience that showed you impacted your community and really hone in on that, right? Don't just list things. Some college applications will give you an opportunity to write about if you didn't do as well in high school as you wanted to, or right, like or in college if you're transferring, they give you an opportunity to kind of walk them through what happened for you. Don't use that as an opportunity to blame others. Use it as an opportunity to show them that you are a learner, a grower, somebody who can develop.
I think that's because they would rather hear about you rather than what happened to you, or because they want to see that they don't want to think that you can't take responsibility. Like both, or like, because I feel like it'd almost be both, but I feel like I would go towards, if I read something about like people whining, I'd be like, well, obviously they feel really upset about this, so clearly, and because they're writing about it here, they probably know that they need to take responsibility for it, but they don't want to. That's where I'd go, but I feel like they might go like, I don't know, I just feel like, I don't really know why I went in there, but because I was kind of wondering, like, do you think it's because they want more about you and about who you are and not like like vague experiences or like things people have done to you?
That was a fantastic way of putting it. You said they want to know what you've done, not what's happened to you.
Yeah.
It's the passive versus
The active. Yeah.
Right? Not what has happened to you, not that. What have you done?
Would it be fair to say this happened to me and this is what I did afterwards to overcome this? Like, would that be good? Or would it be like, don't talk about bad things that happened to you at all?
No, oh, you can say this thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a lot of people will tend to, some essay questions are, write about a challenging experience you had, right? That could be an opportunity to whine about, look how hard my life has been.
You should make it better. No.
You can acknowledge the things that have been hard for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledging is different than whining and blaming, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of like what you said, like, yes, state what happened and what you did about it.
Yeah. More
focus on what you did about it.
Like it should be like 2 sentences versus like 2 paragraphs, or like even more maybe.
Yes, totally. It can be really tempting to use a template.
Why would someone do that? That doesn't. I don't get it.
Why do you think?
Because it's easy.
Because this can be overwhelming, and so it'll just look at what other people have written for similar
makes sense.
essays. Because a lot of essay prompts are kind of similar,
mm-hmm.
and so you could Google it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And
see what other people have written.
You could buy an essay. Don't do that, kids.
You can.
Out there.
They will know.
How will they know?
I think that's a misconception. Like, they wouldn't know if my parents helped me or if I copied this from somewhere.
Wait, you can't get editing from someone else?
Oh, you editing for sure.
Okay. I was like, oh, that's what I was thinking. I have a lot of writer friends.
Help in the appropriate amount. Yes, good. Help in I wrote an outline and then my mom filled it in.
Yeah, that's not good.
They can tell. There's a very big difference between how old's your mom? Like,
I'm not going to say because it's my mom and she'll be mad if I say her age,
So wise.
She actually wouldn't care. She's in the car downstairs. I think she'll sense it. So
her senses will.
She's like doing paperwork or something.
I'll tell her. I mean, your moms are probably somewhere in their 40s, maybe their 50s, right? And so
they're going to write differently than someone who's like 18.
So differently.
Yeah.
So differently. They can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You might just think like, ooh, now it sounds better, but it's going to sound like a 40-year-old. Same with if you buy an essay. They can tell the difference between professional writing and non-professional writing. And so don't let that scare you if you're a really great writer and you sound like a professional writer. Like, they're going to see things too. Like, for you have a lot of writing experience.
Uh-huh.
You've taken multiple writing classes at the college level.
Yes.
So if you write a really stellar essay, they're not going to be suspicious.
I'm sure there'll be mistakes, but
Exactly.
What you can do.
Exactly. So, but they can generally tell. So don't be tempted to use templates, copy. Some colleges will say, if we even suspect that somebody else wrote this thing, we're just going to set your application aside. We're done.
Would they tell you, or would they just be like, you didn't get in?
Yeah, they probably wouldn't tell you. Because they have thousands of those things to read.
What if you did write it, though? I guess you didn't write it well enough.
Yeah.
Or badly enough, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, somewhere in the middle. Typos in there, maybe.
Somewhere in the middle. Yeah. So don't let that scare you. It will be obvious. Like, if you write it, they'll know that you wrote it.
And plus, it'll match up with like other pieces of there's more than one prompt, right? It'll match up with other ones you've done. Like, if you're like, I can write this one really easily, but this one is hard. I'll leave my mom to write it. Then I'm like, it's
going to be a completely different voice. Yeah, totally. Don't write a travelogue or resume. Don't write like a list of all the places that you've been.
I haven't been anywhere, so it's weird.
Perfect. That can be an advantage sometimes, because for the people who have traveled, that's really tempting to be like,
Paris and Paris.
Listen to all these cool places I've been. If a question is asking you something and you really want to tell a story about your time in Paris,
then so what? Then happened again?
Exactly. You write about that trip to Paris, but why does Paris matter?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And also don't write a resume. Again, that goes back to repeating your application. And don't rush. Please don't wait until October, November to start thinking about your essays. And don't leave it unedited. Let other people look at what you've written. That's going to be huge. It's going to make all the difference in the world if you let other people read it, if you go back and reread it a few times. And so, look, even Dumbledore thinks editing is important. He acknowledges that it's hard.
He doesn't say that.
But
what does this say right here? When you begin your first draft,
I think this one.
When you begin editing your first draft.
See, he acknowledges editing.
That's true. Editing is very hard. It's hard. And very stressful.
And you don't have to do it alone.
Well, it's more stressful when other people do it for you, I think. We did like workshops in one class that I took, and it was like you had to sit there in front of all your classmates. They'd all read your paper.
Yes.
And they were all going to say things about it to you, and you couldn't respond. That was the worst thing. Because I wanted to be like, oh, well, that's not true. Or like, hey, this. But
hopefully no one experiences that in working on their application essays.
Hopefully not.
Find people that you trust and that you feel really comfortable with.
I mean, it ended up being really great, and I got a lot of good feedback. But I wish I had been able to say stuff. At the end, we got like a little, like 1 minute to like respond. And so I had to be like, you over there, that's not what I meant. You over there, that's exactly what I meant. You over there, thanks for that. And then I was like, oh, I'm done. Someone else gets to go now.
Work with somebody who, you can have a dialogue back and forth with, who will ask you questions about, why'd you write this? Or tell me more about this. Not just if it's like the right decision to change it or not. Like, what does it mean to you? Yes. Not just somebody who will go through and edit your grammar, though that person's really, really important too.
Yeah,
but
like red pen it.
Yeah. Both are important.
Yeah.
So make sure somebody edits that with you. Okay. So where on earth do you start? You can go a couple different routes. You can either make your list of schools, which we've talked about. If you already feel like you've started to narrow that down, cool. You can probably already start looking at their essay questions.
Yeah.
And just seeing what's out there.
You don't have to like sign into or pay. How do you look at their essay questions if you haven't started to apply yet? Will they have them out there?
So on any school, when you go into their website and you click on admissions, they will have a like get started here button usually. You click on that and they will either direct you to the Common App where you can work on your application on the Common App, or they'll have their own application. For those, you usually create a username and a password. I would recommend creating the same username and password for all your college applications so that you don't get confused.
Yeah.
But you just create a username and password, and then you can start the application. And you don't have to pay
until the end,
until you go to submit it.
Yeah. Okay. Pay. Yeah. I knew you had to pay.
So you can make as many logins as you want to, and look at as many colleges and their applications as you want to. And then with the Common App, it's really nice and easy. You just make the one login, and then you can add the colleges who use the Common App. And you can look at their essay questions too.
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're wanting to apply yet, but you're like, this would be a cool thing for me to start practicing as I narrow it down, you can still create a Common App login and see what the questions are for just the general Common App. You can also just Google that if you don't even want to commit to a login yet. You can Google the 2019-20 2020 Common Application essay questions, and that list will pop up.
Yeah.
Another great resource for the I just want to get started, I just want to get my gears turning, are to use Oregon State University's Insight resume questions. So their OSU has this really cool part of their application where they have these essay questions where you can only write 100 words. So they're real short. It's a really cool, important part of the application, though, because if they really love your answers, you get money towards their school.
Oh, dope.
So those are great ones to start with, though, because they're pretty basic and they're really short. And so it's a way just to kind of get the gears turning, start brainstorming the kinds of things you want to write about. So we're actually going to try one out and think one through. So this is one of the options, one of the essay questions on that OSU Insight resume. So will you read that for us?
Describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to address this challenge. Include whether you turned to anyone in facing that challenge, the role that person played, and what you learned about yourself. Limit 100 words.
It's a lot to write about in 100 words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can make it work.
Okay.
If I have some time.
So we're going to take some time. So I'm going to pause the video here, and I'm going to give Fiona some time to not necessarily write her formal answer to this, but really start writing out some of the ideas that she would want to use in addressing this prompt. So we're going to pause, and we'll be back. All right, so hopefully you gave that a go. Fiona and I kind of did a verbal essay, and she jotted down some notes, but maybe you actually wrote something. Either way works, as long as you have something in mind that gives you some context. Because what we're going to run through now is, now that you've taken kind of those ideas that we talked about before and put it into practice with this essay prompt, which I realized I didn't reshare with you. I only pulled it up on my computer. Let me try that again. Share there. So now that you've put it into some practice, how do you really refine it? There are a few more things that I want to share with you as you go through the editing process, just to make it go from good, it checks the boxes, to great, it really stands out. So you want to get the reader's attention with a strong opening. This is something I'm sure you've talked about in so many of your writing classes. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I'll read the okay one, and then Fiona's going to read the awesome one for you, okay? So here's like an okay opening. My most significant extracurricular activity is my involvement in field hockey, because in field hockey, I have learned the importance of teamwork, perseverance, and hard work. That's, yeah, probably true.
It says what it needs to.
Here's a better one.
The day I stopped a goal with my forehead was the day I learned how important field hockey was to me. Or what the day I learned. Sorry. If there's a typo, you can see it.
Yes, you can see it. But different, right?
Yeah, you want to know a goal with your forehead. Are you sure we want you in our school? Or are you going to be like, weird?
Do you have a traumatic brain injury?
Yeah. CTE, right? Man, it's a real thing.
But remember I said that these essays are not going to be like your generic high school essays that you've been writing, where, you know, you started off by saying the important themes in Charles Dickens' novel are this, this, and that. You only have so many words to say what you want to say and to grab their attention.
This one's shorter.
And they know what you're going to be writing about. If they asked you, so the question here is, what were your most significant extracurricular activities and what did you learn from them? They know you're going to be writing about that. So you don't need to say my most significant extracurricular
You don't need to like do that science thing where you put the question in the... You
don't.
If then because, yes. You know, you ever heard of that?
Yes, you don't. You get to just jump right in. So with that last essay, if you started off by saying the most challenging experience I've faced is, try again. See if you can come up with something more unique. Even if it's a quote that somebody, like something somebody said to you, is a great way. Or here are some kind of other ideas that people have started out with for various essays. These are all for different prompts, but one person's opening sentence was, my grandpa is a talker. Short. That's something you noticed about that last one.
Yeah.
That intro sentence being short and making them want to keep reading.
Mm-hmm.
They want to know why the day that
you stopped a goal
puck hit your forehead was important to you. And so they're going to read about it. With this other opening sentence, do they really need to read any more? You kind of just gave it all away.
Yeah, it's like you maybe could do why, but you only have so many words.
Right.
You could add why, but it's like if you only have a certain amount of words, you don't want to use them all up introducing everything.
Yes.
You want to do the so what?
Oh. All the so whats. So I used to be a soccer player.
Why did you used to be a soccer player?
Why aren't you a soccer player anymore?
What?
They're going to want to keep reading.
What happened to you? What happened to soccer?
This one is out there. It's an odd combination. Ancient Celtic war dances and refined French ballet.
Those both sound terrible. I'm thinking about kilts now.
Like, somebody was doing ballet in a kilt for some reason. Yes. It sounds like, and the reader's going to want to know, huh? Why?
Or why is that not a combination? Maybe it's I think it's a normal combination.
Sounds cool to me.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
6 feet. That's what I wanted to be.
I think because it's like the immediate reaction is like, oh, you want to be 6 feet tall, but it's like maybe you want to be 6 feet under. Like you want to be dead, or because you want to be a zombie.
And why is that significant?
Yeah, what's going on there?
This was for one, I remember writing one of my college essays, and it was, the prompt was something to do with, talk about a misconception people have about you.
I am blonde.
And my first sentence was, I am blonde. And then writing about why being blonde has created misconceptions about me. I could have written, people often have misconceptions about me because of the color of my hair.
Which is yellow. Or something, I don't know.
Like, I could have said that, but kept it short and sweet. And now they're going to read, it sounds like a really kind of oversimplified way to start an essay. Mm-hmm. But give them a reason to read more.
Yeah.
Why does being blonde matter? Why does your grandpa being a talker matter? Yes. Right? You get to go into all of that. So started off with something
punchy.
Okay. Punchy. Another big editing tip for you. Go back and read that thing and check for cliches.
For cheese, I feel like cheesy stuff.
Yes.
You don't want it to be cheesy.
You don't want it to be cheesy.
It's good on a sandwich, not in an essay.
Yeah, that's true. I like a lot of things to be cheesy, but college essays aren't one. So here's something that's okay. It's good. They say, I want to help people. I have gotten so much out of life through the love and guidance of my family. I feel that many individuals have not been as fortunate. Therefore, I would like to expand the lives of others. So nice.
Cheesy.
But it is a little generic and it is a little cliche. So what if it said this instead? Will you read that for us, Fiona?
My mom and dad sit on dozens of sidelines until their shoes fill with water and their fingers turn white. That kind of commitment is what I'd like to bring to working with 4th graders.
They painted a picture.
Yeah, I got it. A story.
Mm-hmm. They provided something specific and how that's impacted them. Mm-hmm. Not just, my family has loved me and guided me, and so I want to do the same for others.
Because, like, this one is, like, a specific thing. I mean, a lot of people can relate to sports, but not as many people can relate to, like, loving their family. You know, it's a little bit more unique, and you can go on and make it more, like, personal to you.
You can, yes, absolutely. So how did you know that your parents loved and guided you? Is it because they stood on that soccer field until their shoes filled with water?
The water filled with shoes?
The water filled with shoes. It was a crazy day. What was it? And how specifically has that impacted what you want to do? So not just expanding the lives of others, but working directly with 4th graders is what this person wants to do. Mm-hmm. Right? So specific is a great way to avoid cliche.
Yeah.
And another way to think about cliche is that generality. That is that
a word?
I just made it one.
Oh, now it's a word.
Maybe don't use it in your essays until you check the dictionary.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Focus on one topic, one character, or one story, right? We've started talking about this already, but here's an example of this. So this person wrote, the summer after my junior year, I traveled to Italy with my grandparents. I had a really tough junior year with tons of work and pressure. I had spent the year keeping up an A average, playing #1 singles in tennis, and even holding down a job. In Italy, wow, more typos. This person's not doing great. In Italy with my grandparents, I learned to relax and not to take myself and life so seriously. Okay, here's a different version of that.
On a melting Italian afternoon in July, our rental car steamed into town. Watching the scenery pass by, I was jolted out of my stupor. Was that the Leaning Tower of Pisa? I blinked and straightened up. Oh, what a sight. The Leaning Tower was real. It was also really leaning. At that moment, my commitment to perfection began to crumble.
That's different.
Yeah. It's more specific, but it also is like, it doesn't talk about everything else, which is good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Yes. So it's not like, okay, so one thing to notice about this, the first version, they talk about their junior year and traveling to Italy And then they talk about their junior year again. And then they talk about Italy again.
They're flip-flopping. And their job and their singles in tennis.
Yes. Okay, this person has read your resume or your application probably. They know that you have an A average, that you played tennis, that you had a job.
I think this might be okay if all they got was an essay, but they're getting the essay is only about the one thing in that application.
Yeah. Yeah, they already know that if all you had was an essay, that'd be really important to share. But they already know that. And so focus in on what was it about that junior year that was tough? For this person, it was this idea of perfection, having to be a perfectionist was what really made it overwhelming.
Because Leaning Tower of Pisa is only exciting because it leans. Otherwise, it'd just be a tower.
Yeah.
That's kind of rude to Leaning Tower of Pisa,
exciting.
but I mean, it's a nice tower no matter what. But
it's real though.
It's really leaning.
And maybe that's what this person goes on to write about. Is the thing that makes life interesting is when you lean a little, when it's not perfect.
Yeah, I went to Italy and saw it, and she was like, "Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was gonna fall on me. It's really leaning.
It is. It's kind of scary. It's kind of a strange sight. So focus on one thing. Don't try to fit it all in. And focus on that one afternoon. Like this person is saying, like overall on their time in Italy, they learned to relax and not take themselves too seriously. Why? What about that trip to Italy made them realize that?
Was there a moment? Was it the whole thing?
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what was it? The second version gives an example right away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
And it's more fun to read, I guess. That kind of matters?
It matters.
Okay.
These people, you guys, these people are reading thousands of these essays. And if they pick one up and it sounds real similar to the one they just read, they're human beings. And so
they're going to be like, I'm reading this passively.
They're going to get bored and they're not going to pay as much attention unless you give them a reason to.
Mm-hmm.
This second version gives them a reason to. It also, I want to acknowledge, is a little flowery, right? It's like a little, on a melting Italian afternoon, our car steamed into town, right? Don't be afraid to use those flowery words. Like, yes, you want to come across as academic, but paint these people a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Make it fun for them to read.
Hi, puppy.
There's a really cute puppy walking by.
What kind of dog?
So
is it like a golden doodle?
We're going to be distracted for the next 2 seconds.
Hi, puppy.
I don't know what it is.
Her name is Ivy, or his name is, I don't know. Ivy's a gender neutral name, right? Or like a dog?
It's real cute.
Sorry. I wish
whatever it is.
Maybe we'll turn it. No, I'm kidding.
Just know.
It's a cute dog.
We would paint you a word picture if we had more time.
Yes.
So go back and read your draft of that last essay if you wrote one, and think about, did I write about the challenging experience and then how somebody helped me and how it was challenging and what I learned, and right? Or did you tell a concise story that answered all of those questions without the obvious, the most challenging experience I had and the person who helped me was, right? So go back and tell the story or share about the character and keep it about you, right? This person's intro is about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And as they write, it's going to become more and more and more about their character development as they learn to work through perfectionism. So
I had got a text from my employer, so I had to answer that. I kept turning and I was like, "But that's Eric." I have to answer.
Important stuff. Okay, so this is what I'm going to leave you with: is just take control of this essay writing thing. Don't let it scare you. Don't let it intimidate you, especially if you are watching this now, if you're starting this now, if you're thinking about this now. Like, you have time. You are in control of this thing.
Your essay.
It's your essay, and you get to make it what you want it to be. And so think about what kind of stories you want to tell about yourself. This might be a helpful place to start too, if you don't want to start with exact prompts. Like, start with just list out the cool things that the stories that you would want to tell, right? If you do know the essay prompts, like, look at them and then see how you can use those stories to tell what you want to tell about yourself. Okay, and then I know we've talked a lot about, like, what do they want to know about you? It's for the specific audience. Think about your reader. At first, don't worry so much about that. Like when you go to write your first draft, make it for you.
Yeah, a little more genuine that way than being like,
yes.
You might as well just, I feel like they'd be able to tell if you're really writing to like them. Because I can always tell, I feel like. When I'm writing, like I'll, like with my own writing.
Comes across a little phony.
I can tell I'm writing to this one teacher.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, that might be good for some teachers. It depends on the teacher. Sometimes they're like, I really want you to write to me. Like they don't say that, but you know.
Right.
Like I had a professor recently who was like, if you're writing like for me, I will know and I won't like it. Like write for yourself.
Yeah. Oh, what a cool.
He was awesome. Christopher Hazlitt, he's the best.
Take
a class with him.
If you go to COCC, Hazlitt is a great guy.
For writing. I don't think he's very good at math.
I don't take his math class.
He doesn't have a math class. It's okay.
Okay, so once you do that, then you can go back and see what you can add to address what they're looking for and what they want to hear. But you do it for you first. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I read this quote the other day. Well, this one too, but it said, you don't have to get it right. You just have to get it written. That's the essence of the first draft.
Can I curse? No, probably not.
Let's not.
Okay. So there's a I'm not gonna curse.
Okay.
They will know what I'm talking about. Is that okay?
Yeah, you just bleep it out. Censor yourself.
Yeah, so there is a piece of work written by some lady author who's really good. I don't remember her name. We read it in Hazlitt's class, and it was called Poopy First Drafts, but it's the S word. Uh-huh. So we read a curse word. Yes, it's a college class.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
You do that.
It was really good, and I would look it up. I hate to say that. I'm sorry. But it's really good, and it totally captures the essence of, like, what you want to, like, how to get it down. Because it was talking about her personal experience writing, like, food critic reviews or something. And she was like, I would be sitting there, and I'd be like, I can't get the magic to work this time. I can't get it down. And that was really resonated with me, because whenever I'm trying to write something for a class, I'm like, I can't make the magic work. Because usually when I write for myself, it's like magic. It feels really awesome and very, like, cathartic. But for, like, classes, I would never be able to wait it to work until, like, the last minute. Mm-hmm. But it's about just starting is all you have to do, and then the rest is not easy, but easier than starting, I feel like.
So for Fiona throwing the resources at you.
Yeah.
The poopy first draft.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't have been like, hey.
I really love this quote too. It's perfectly okay to write garbage as long as you edit brilliantly. So go write some garbage if you need to write some garbage.
Yeah.
That works. Everything is just a starting point, and you can go from there. So we are cheering you guys on as you start this version of this chapter of your application journey. And if you have questions about how to make it really great, let us know. And we would be happy to chat with you. So would Fiona.
I have to go, though.
We both got to go. So hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next week as we continue talking about the college application journey. So we'll see you then.
Bye.
Thanks.